Quiet growth feels like being lost, but isn't. Feeling lost isn't always a lack of direction. Sometimes it's actually a sign that finally you have stopped explaining yourself to people who, to be honest, never truly care to listen. The beautiful thing is that when you stop explaining, life gets quieter, and that can be really confusing because it gets lonely. Once you begin to grow, you're going to start feeling lonely. In this video, I want to talk about why quiet growth feels so uncomfortable. I'm going to explain why. Number one, you're not actually lost. How to ground yourself when you feel like you're lost. Really, how to go about it, not second guessing yourself, not second guessing your progress. And by the end of this video, my goal is to give you practical exercises to help you trust the reason why you feel lonely, you feel confused in your growth journey rather than resisting it. Alright, chapter 1. Why is it that quiet growth feels like being lost? Let's start with why silence feels so unsettling to begin with. I think I can say for everyone that most of us growing up have been conditioned to feel like growth has to be loud. Growth had to be visible. If you were building a house, everyone in your vicinity should know and everyone in your family should know, because how dare you build a home without letting me know? We are all conditioned to believe that growth should be announced, it should be explained, and this one validated by the people we explain to. So you see, this is the reason why when you stop narrating what you're going to do or your decision, they take it as an attack. When you stop narrating your choices, when you stop justifying your boundaries, you know the first person to react, it's not the family members, it's not the friends, okay? It is your own nervous system. Your nervous system is the first to say, oh wait, I don't understand this. Is something wrong? Is something wrong with me? Meanwhile, all this time, nothing is wrong. What is actually happening is that you had an audience, you had people watching, or that you wanted to watch, but now you've removed that audience. You are by yourself. Think about the last decision that you made without explaining it. There was no announcement for it. There was no long conversation about it. It was just a quiet choice. Now, notice how uncomfortable that felt. Not because your decision, your choice, your boundary was wrong, but just because your nervous system dictated something new, something unfamiliar. Next thing I want you to do is write down that one thing that you did without asking anyone. And once you're done, answer this question honestly. Even if you don't want to write it down, you already thought it, so answer it honestly. Did that one decision that you made, that choice you made, the boundary you set up quietly, did that bring more calm and peace into your life, or did it invite more chaos? I can guarantee 100% of the time, sharing everything brings chaos and not peace, because now everybody has their own personal opinion as to what you should or should not do. I want to guarantee you that at this stage in your life, you being who you are, who God made you, you definitely moving forward no longer need permission to evolve. Let me repeat that. You no longer need permission to evolve. And you know what discomfort means? Discomfort during your growth journey does not mean that you are on the wrong path. It doesn't mean a disalignment. It often means growth without other people's approval. And yes, that is expected to be uncomfortable. That said, now let's talk about why explaining yourself actually becomes a habit as time goes on, and why trying to outgrow that feeling actually feels like a loss. So that takes us to the next chapter, which is the habit of over-explaining. From my experience, a lot of people over-explain because they confuse that with clarity. But most of the time, over-explaining is a trauma response. And I understand. We explain obviously because we want to be understood. We over-explain because we fear being misjudged. And we explain because we are taught that clarity keeps us safe. And if you think I'm lying about this, if you think I am wrong, let me disprove you. Here is an example. I have a question for you. If you think this is just bluff, right? Do you ever rehearse conversations while you're just by yourself? Conversations that don't or actually never happen. Let me Or let me rephrase it. How often do you rephrase conversations that actually never happen? How often? Explanations you would never give. You rehearse justifications that nobody asked for. You know what? All that energy is leakage. That said, let me give you an exercise to do. Moving forward, or let's say for the next 24 hours, please, when next you feel the urge to explain, this is what I want you to do. Pause and ask yourself, am I explaining this to clarify, or am I explaining this to be accepted? And if the response is the second one, so you're responding just so that you can be respected, don't respond at all. I want to remind you as your big sister, you are someone who actually trusts their decisions. I know that you trust your decisions, and you should trust your decisions without external confirmation. Sis, your life does not require a press release. Your life does not require a press release. All that said, someone is going to ask me, Zaria, so now I know I'm going to stop explaining. But then once I stop explaining, what should I be doing? If you stop explaining, what should replace that? That is where maturity comes in. Maturity definitely changes how you move. When you grow in a mature way, your life becomes clearer. Maturity is cleaner. It is not louder. And this is what happens. You finally stop reacting. You finally stop defending. And you stop, this one, I like this one so much. You stop explaining any misconceptions about you. And that's not because you're passive, but because you are grounded. Real life, let me give you real life examples. When I say maturity, it's like this. Instead of explaining why you're going to pull back on something, you simply pull back without drama. Instead of defending your boundary, you simply reinforce it. Sit back, observe, use what you see to decide your next move. So you replace it, you reinforce your boundaries with action. And here I'm going to leave you with another exercise. You have to choose, please, choose one boundary that you can reinforce this week, okay? And what I want you to do is that you're going to reinforce this boundary without any explanation. There's going to be no speech. There's going to be no follow-up explanation. There's going to be consistency. So you're going to stick to it no matter what comes. And when you do that, expect your nervous system to be mad. Observe how your nervous system responds. Observe how it adjusts. I want to remind you as your big sister that you are someone who lets behavior speak louder than words. Actions are better than words. Your calm is not confusion. It is regulation. All right, that's it. Now let's move on to talk about fear. Let's talk about this fear that shows up and your fear of being misunderstood. You know what? One of the hardest things about actually growing quietly is the fear that people are going to misunderstand us. We have to accept the fact that people are going to misunderstand us, but the important thing is that when they do, let us not try to correct them. And that doesn't mean that you're wrong. It simply means that you no longer care to try to manage anyone's perception. And if someone thinks you've changed, maybe they're right. You changed. The difference is that you changed, but they assumed something. And the way that you changed is not the way they assumed. And that is fine. You also don't need to clarify that, especially if those people are really not any special people in our lives. I'm sure some of us, a lot of us have, like right now as we speak, false story about you that someone else will believe it's true, which is not. What I want you to do is to write down that thing. So whatever it is that you think is false about you, and you know for sure that someone either already believes it's true when it comes to you, or someone will believe it's true. Write it down, and then this is what I want you to write underneath it. You're going to write below it, I don't need to correct this in order to stay aligned with God's plan and direction in my life. Once you write that, make sure that you read it over and over until it sinks in. You are telling your system, I know they think this about me, but I know better. I know it's not the truth, but I am not going to correct them. It's their perception. And I don't have time to manage people's perception. Even if I did, whose perception should I manage and whose should I not manage? Because there's a lot of people in this world. And I want to reassure you that you are someone who chooses alignment over approval, over perception over attention. And you also choose your peace over everyone else's perception of you. Are you happy with the choice you made? Did the choice you made, did the decision you make improve your life? Yes. How is that their business? How they perceive it is none of your business. All that said, if you've been feeling quiet lately, feeling less reactive, feeling confused, not understanding your emotions while in your growth journey, you are absolutely not lost, and that is expected. I know for sure you are done explaining yourself, and be reminded that that's not regression, that is refinement. This week, I challenge you to choose one area in your life where you're going to stop explaining and you're going to start embodying that part of you. And while at it, please track how peaceful it is. Track how your peace responds to you actually doing the thing that you've waited for too long to start doing. That's all I wanted to share with you today. But if this video resonated with you, do me a favor and comment below. And you can subscribe so that we can have more grounded conversations like this on emotional maturity, self-trust, growth, becoming her quietly. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.